Hello everyone and welcome to my brand new video where I'm going to be ranking all the Star Wars films from worst to best. And not only am I including films, I'm also including TV shows such as The Mandalorian and The Clone Wars. Please bear in mind this is my opinion, I'm not trying to change any of your opinions, this is my opinion and my opinion only. So I hope you all enjoy, and the following footage is not mine, it's the original trailers for the films. Thank you very much.
The power of the dark side.
Okay, so coming at number 16, we have The Last Jedi. So, the thing is with this film, as good as it was, it just lost me a bit. I mean, well, not lost me, but I just didn't really find it that entertaining. Granted, there is certain parts of this movie that I absolutely love, such as the dyad between Kylo Ren and Rey, and that really set motion for what was going to happen in The Rise of Skywalker, and I really enjoyed that. However, such things such as the casino parts, I don't know, it just felt like there were an exciting story mixed with a really boring story. Like I say, this is just my opinion. Another thing with this film, the reason why it isn't really that, well, as good as it should be for a blockbuster film, is because Disney had to rewrite it. The original plot was leaked, and Disney didn't like that, so they wanted to change it up a bit. So that's why this is kind of second best to what we originally got. And I feel like what we would have originally have, that would have been better and more entertaining, because it really followed up what happened in The Force Awakens really well. And although it was similar, there were much more things with characters like Finn. And I feel like Finn really got demoted in this film as well, besides the fight with Captain Phasma, of course. And then I wasn't really a huge fan of Rose. It's just hard to say, really, because I don't want to offend anyone's opinion. But my opinion's just so strong on this film. So, yeah. There isn't really much things that I love, but that's The Last Jedi, and it came in last. Moving on to number 15 then, we have Solo, A Star Wars Story. Now, this is where it gets complicated because I really like this film. It's just, compared to other films, I just don't think it has as an exciting storyline and as much things. It just really brought the Star Wars universe together to show what other people experienced during the time of the Empire. And I just feel like it's just something special, really special. And Disney did a great job. In fact, they've done a great job with all the spin-offs in general. It's just, I think that this is one of the lesser entertaining and more casual viewing. Don't get me wrong, it's a great story. And even my dad was able to keep up with what was happening, and I think it just felt so real. And that was really good directing by Disney and really good storytelling. And the plot twist at the end, it was just so good, and it showed some things what characters such as Darth Maul did after Revenge of the Sith. And how Han Solo came into what he'd done. And now we have seen his past. we understand why he is like he is now and why he's so successful as a smuggler. And I like seeing the history behind the Millennium Falcon because it's one of the most famous ships in history. Like, if I asked a random person what is the Millennium Falcon, 9 out of 10 people will probably be able to tell me. But, yeah, such a good film. Moving on to number 14, we have Attack of the Clones. Now, I love the prequels, don't get me wrong, but this film, it had such an entertaining storyline. And I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. It just wasn't what I like. It was super political. I feel like this was more political than The Phantom Menace was. And that loses a lot of Star Wars fans. Because not all Star Wars fans, no offence to everyone, but not all Star Wars fans have a lot of knowledge about politics anyway. Never mind politics in Star Wars. And such things like the Separatists, and because it were a political disagreement, that's what lost me. Don't get me wrong, I am such a huge prequels fan. Prequel is my favourite era. I love everything about it. It's just this film in particular, I don't like it. The Battle of Geonosis, I hate it. I hate the Geonosians. They just go through me a bit. And I don't like the fight between the animals and the Jedi. And when Obi-Wan Kenobi cut that giant spider's leg off, I just don't think it's something that Jedi do. Similar to one that's coming later in my list. It's just Jedi would find loads of alternatives to harming a creature. And it was just super disappointing to see that a Jedi Master, I think he is anyway, a Jedi Master did this. And I feel like even though George Lucas knew Jedi more than everyone else, it was just really disappointing. But yeah, that's coming in at number 14. So at number 13, we have the last of the films, last of the saga, The Rise of Skywalker. When I first watched this film, I really enjoyed it, I'm not gonna lie. It was really, really entertaining. But when I speak to my friends, I realise, watching it a second time, it's not as good as I originally thought. I'm ranking it above the past ones because the reveal in which Rey was a Palpatine, you could actually see that in The Force Awakens based on Rey's fighting style. And I feel this really tied up the sequels and really brought the three films together. But the reason why I don't like it is because of the way they've brought back Palpatine. That's just the big downfall of this film for me, because it feels like Disney are trying to play it super safe, and they've relied on the fan base way too much in this film. In The Last Jedi, Disney tried doing their own thing, and even though the plot was leaked, they still tried doing their own thing, because the big thing about The Force Awakens, it got a lot of stick saying that it wasn't as original. So J.J. Abrams went, oh, you want original? I'll give you original, and that's when The Last Jedi came. And because that got slated, they kind of just looked at what the fan base wanted and just gave it to them. It was just super disappointing that this is how they wanted it. This is how they thought it needed to be. And I would have honestly preferred them to do their own thing, a bit like The Last Jedi. I would have preferred them to do their own thing and carry on doing their own thing. But they just didn't, and I feel like because it's Disney, Lucasfilm, that would just disappoint him. But it is a great film. So yeah, that's it. Coming in at number 12, we have Star Wars Rebels. Now, this is where a bit of slate will come into it, because a lot of people will be thinking, how can you rank Star Wars Rebels above those live-action movies? Well, there's just one thing in particular that made it impossible not to rank it in this position, and that was Twilight of the Apprentice. Twilight of the Apprentice was absolutely incredible. The fight between Ahsoka and Vader, the first time I watched it, I actually cried because it was just so powerful. And the fact that Ahsoka couldn't bring Vader back into the light side, it was just so hard to take in. The fact that they'd fought for all them years side by side during the Clone War, and now it were Master versus Apprentice for all the wrong reasons. Even though Master versus Apprentice happens all the time in Sith, it's not the same. They all want power, and it was just such an upsetting story because Vader didn't want to kill his apprentice. He just wanted to kill the memory and kill Anakin Skywalker. So that was just super upsetting. So that's the big thing about this series. However, the occasional things with Ezra, I'm not a huge fan of Ezra at all. And until the Inquisitor versus Kanan was brought in, it was just not the best. And I feel like it lacked so much. But besides from that, it were quite good. I really enjoyed it, and it was really different from the Clone Wars, which was extremely good. I thought Disney would just copy what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni did, no, just Dave Filoni did with the Clone Wars, and they didn't. They did their own thing, and that's really nice. And it brought on something really different, and I really like that. Okay, so at number 12, I think we're at, is the Clone Wars film, 2008. So this was okay, but it was, in my opinion, I just think it was better than what has already been listed, because it brought in Ahsoka Tano. It started it all off, and Disney gave us an impression. I mean, not Disney, sorry. Lucasfilm gave us the impression of what was to come, and they set a high scale for what the Clone Wars will be like. Granted, this film is a tiny bit childish, but that's only the base. And the fact that this set high expectations and Lucasfilm went above those high expectations, it was just really incredible. They did a great job. And bringing in characters such as Asajj Ventress, that was really brave of Lucasfilm to bring in another assassin as well as General Grievous. And the only downfall about this film, I feel like it would have been better with that one battle. But the fact that they brought in stuff like Jabba's son, which I don't even know what happened after this to Jabba's son. It just kind of went down. I'll do some more research, but as far as I'm aware, there isn't really any follow-up. I'd love to see your comments on that. But other than that, it's a great film. I really like how they introduced Ahsoka to what Ahsoka will eventually be. And seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi fight Asajj Ventress in that first film, in that first part to the Clone Wars, it was just really powerful. Okay, so coming in at number 11, it is The Empire Strikes Back. This is where a lot of negative comments will come from, because how can you apply such a powerful film, such a brilliant 5-star film, at number 10? And that's because of what Jedi represent and what Jedi are supposed to be. And on Hoth, when Luke is fighting the Yeti, the fact, I just didn't like that. I just hated that bit so much, because a Jedi would not harm that, because Luke could have easily force pushed him away, but he chose violence. And I know it showed that he were Vader's son, but even still, I just hated how they did that, because Luke was supposed to be the Jedi, but we saw the dark side to him. And I just think that were a bad decision by George Lucas. That was just the killer in this movie. And I also didn't like how they just kept faffing about in space in the Millennium Falcon. It felt like they couldn't find storylines, and they'd just do that. However, the big reveal in this film, I Am Your Father, that is the biggest moment in Star Wars history, and that makes it go in the top 10 spot, because it's the most iconic saying in Star Wars, and you just can't knock it down for that, because it actually was a good film. It was just, I have negative views. Okay, so coming in at number 10, we have The Force Awakens. Okay, so this film was really good. I loved it. I'm sure that every single fan that saw Star Wars coming back, they were like, oh my god. And when they saw this film, that just probably improved it even more. There's a lot of sequel hate going around at the minute, and I haven't got a really good review on the sequels. I'm sort of mixed about it, but this film, the only negative that I can find that doesn't put it on the top spot is that it's fairly similar to A New Hope. And that was what killed it. That is what fans didn't like about it. They just thought it were a copy, a remake of A New Hope. And it kind of is, but when you think about it, you could say the same for Return of the Jedi. I know a lot of people do argue about they shouldn't have brought back a second Death Star, but even still, this film was just incredible. The fact that we saw what happened to Imperials after Return of the Jedi, the fact that they weren't killed off, it was just absolutely incredible, and I just loved it. And it did actually bring a tear to my eye seeing this. Seeing the memories and seeing Han Solo. And when Han Solo died, when Kylo Ren killed his father, that was just a shocking moment, and I still can't believe that happened. It's just super powerful. Number 9, and this is the Clone Wars series. So the Clone Wars film, the Clone Wars series actually have separate rankings because they're separate things. And I must admit, the main contributing factor to this being this high up is actually Series 7. Series 7, the final season. because I'm looking at the behind the scenes, probably mainly, but the way they filmed that final battle between Ahsoka and Darth Maul, it was just absolutely incredible. The fact that they used real life people to represent the characters fighting, and they used Rey, who acted Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace and Solo: A Star Wars Story. They used him to represent Darth Maul and one of the stunt people to do Ahsoka, and they actually performed that fighting scene in a studio, and it were filmed. And then they managed to redo that in animation using what they'd filmed in real life. And when you look at the behind the scenes on Disney's Instagram, it's just really clever. And I feel like it's a massive turning point in filming, the fact that you can do that. It is quite similar to CGI, but I just have a special spot for that moment. And the storyline as well, it was incredible. But it's not only Season 7 of the Clone Wars that were good. Season 5, I think it was, when they brought Maul back. Granted, a lot of fans didn't like that, but I absolutely love Maul, and it shows how powerful it is. No one can say that Maul wasn't powerful enough now, because this series showed the complete opposite of that. It showed that he was powerful. It showed that he was incredibly powerful, almost similar to Darth Vader. But when Palpatine fought him, it showed that Palpatine's the best. Now it's number 8. And we have The Mandalorian. Now, The Mandalorian is incredible. This is Season 1. I'm ranking Season 1 and Season 2 separately, so this is The Mandalorian Season 1. And it was just so surreal to see what had happened between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, and seeing what impact Imperials that hadn't been killed off were doing. There were still groups of Imperials that were terrorising villages and taking control, trying to regroup themselves. And at first, I thought it would tie into the sequels with Palpatine and that, but after watching Season 2, which I'm not going to get too much into now, I have a different opinion about that. But to see more of the Mandalorian culture as well, it just shows how, what's the word? How much commitment they have to their culture, and how much they worship their culture. It just shows how powerful and how different Mandalorians are, and how unique they are. And it was just so good. Okay, number 7 now. Making it into the top 5 is Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. This film is incredible. I absolutely love it. In my opinion, I've said that a lot this video, this is the best Star Wars Disney Star Wars film. Because, what can I say, it's just amazing. I absolutely love it. Because it just felt so original. And the Death Star, showing that the weakness in the Death Star had actually been planted. It was just mind-blowing. And the fact that we saw the story of Rogue One and how they retrieved the Death Star plans, it was incredible. And Disney signed all these cast members and they weren't afraid to kill them all off. Disney killed them all off on that planet. And it was just unexpected. It was one film, and it was meant for one film only. One story on its own. And it was just incredible. Seeing the rise of our hero, and then seeing the fall, heroic fall, should I say. It was just different as well. It was so different to what we usually saw. And it just tied up a perfect story between that and A New Hope. And if you play that and put A New Hope directly after it, it just makes so much sense. Number 6. Now, we have Return of the Jedi. Now, this is almost my favourite original movie. However, when I reveal my favourite original, I'll explain why. But this one was super entertaining. And the fight at the end between Vader and Luke, it was just so emotional. And Palpatine was so evil, and the fact that it showed his emotions towards the Jedi, and it was always said that Palpatine's weakness would be his views on the Jedi, and that came true. That's why previous Sith Lords did not like Palpatine, because they knew what his downfall would be, and we saw that downfall in this film. Granted, I'm going in a lot of lore here, but it does tie it all up. It just makes a lot of sense. And even though we only see Palpatine in this film, not in a hologram, not in a... not in one of them things that's in Empire Strikes Back. It was just really good. And the fact that Palpatine's one of the main characters after appearing in one film, it's just so great. And Palpatine is one of my favourite characters, because he's just so powerful and unique and different. And this film is just absolutely incredible. Number 5 now. We have A New Hope. A New Hope is a great film, and I absolutely love it. And it has to go in number 4 because it's what started Star Wars off. Without this film, we wouldn't have the greatness, and we wouldn't have the Star Wars universe that we have now. And this film was just the start of it all. And it's just amazing to look back on this film and see how much Star Wars has evolved. But even though Star Wars has evolved, and even though the characters have evolved and the special effects have evolved, the story will always be the same. And to say when this was filmed, the special effects are quite good in truth, but not the best. Number 4 is The Phantom Menace. I'm going to get a lot of hate for putting this film this high up, but it's just so entertaining for me. It's just so good, and it's one of my favourite Star Wars films. And until recently, it would have actually almost been at the top of the list, because Qui-Gon Jinn, I absolutely love him. He's just what a Jedi should be. He's what a Jedi was meant to be. And he doesn't agree with the Jedi Council, because the Jedi Council are wrong, ladies and gentlemen. The Jedi Council are wrong. Qui-Gon Jinn is the true Jedi. Qui-Gon Jinn would not have let Anakin go through the downfall he has gone through. And Qui-Gon Jinn is the father that Anakin never had. And it's what Anakin needed. Because it also shows the detachment from his mother had a serious impact on Anakin, and it shows the start of his journey to the dark side. And I rate this film super high, and it's just so powerful. There's one main reason why I like this film though, and that is down to Darth Maul. Darth Maul is incredible. He's my favourite Star Wars character, and one of my favourite Sith, because he's just so unique and he's got so much hate towards the Jedi, but this is only the start of his story, and it gets so much more interesting. Okay, so making it into
Top 3
is The Mandalorian Season 2. The Mandalorian Season 2 was one of the best Star Wars things that I have seen in a long time. And I have recently watched the finale of The Mandalorian Season 2. And the way... In fact, no, I'm not going to spoil it. But the effects they used to bring back characters that would be much older, I just didn't think they'd do it. And I didn't see it coming. I did have my theories, but my theories weren't as good as what we actually got. And Dave Filoni did say at the start of the series not to speculate about what would happen, because what we're actually going to get will be 10 times better than anything that we can think about. And he stuck to his word, and we got that. When Bo-Katan came in episode 3, I think it was, I just screamed. It was absolutely incredible. And I didn't expect it either. It was just so mind-blowing. And the bond between Baby Yoda and Din Djarin, in fact, no, I should say Grogu now, Grogu and Din Djarin, it just showed how strong, and it showed that Din Djarin was like a father to Grogu. And that sets even more emotion in this series, and a lot of fans in the finale cried because of that. And it was just such a huge realisation, and it was entertaining and action-packed all the way through. And that's why I've gave it a ranking.
Number 3.
Okay, so coming in at number 2, we have Revenge of the Sith. Now, quite a lot of fans might agree with me on this. Quite a lot of fans might really disagree with me on this. But I just love Revenge of the Sith. I think it's the best Star Wars film that's ever come out, because it has everything from what we love from every single part of the Star Wars universe. And it shows such an emotional fall to the dark side by Anakin. The way that he falls to the dark side and he becomes Darth Vader. The way in which his wife lost the will to live because she couldn't see him go down that path. She couldn't bear to see him with so much anger because she loved him too much. And it set the story for what was going to happen in the originals. It set the story for redemption. We wanted Anakin to redeem himself. And at the beginning of the film, we saw Anakin and Obi-Wan fight like brothers. And that was just mind-blowing. And I cried when I saw them fight at the end of the film, because they were brothers and they were fighting. They wanted to kill each other. There was just so much emotion. And at one point, Obi-Wan would have actually brought him back to the light. Something that Qui-Gon could have done. But he didn't see that. And he just continued fighting. That's for another video though. This video is mainly saying what I love about this film. Order 66 was one of the most powerful moments in any film. And it's just so action-packed. It's so emotional. It's so powerful. And it shows that we should never let our emotions get the better of us. And even though it's harsh, that is one thing in this film that has a huge story.